The snow is gone, if you've seen the last video, and the fields are back fully to the green colour again, even though the temperatures are still a bit low. Now in here, obviously in the greenhouse, with a bit of hazy sunshine, it's so nice and warm again. It's so comfortable. But regardless of these low temperatures outside at the moment, spring won't be long coming, and starting seeds indoors is definitely a great way to get a head start on the growing season. Or it's definitely necessary if you're planning to grow any of these really slow growing plants, or plants that just need a really long season of growth. And there are a few seeds that I sow at the very beginning of the year. So now we're in January, so in January there are only a very few handful of them, and this year I'm extra excited about it because I've got a new gadget that I hope will help me with the germination. So therefore let's get some seed sowing done today. Now this year I do want to use up all of the older seed packets, and I'm keeping a tally on all of the gardening related spending, as I think it will be really interesting to look back on at the end of the year, just to see how much is all of this costing, you know, between the seeds and soil and any kind of, let's say, gadgets that I might be adding to, or tools even. So yeah, I'll do that. And I might just sow some early varieties of cabbage and cauliflower as well. So that's the plan. And I'm thinking we might just look out then in the garden as well and see how or what kind of a damage was done by the snow. And then there's a little change in the orchard as well. Now for years I did not actually sow a seed or plant anything to do with vegetables until well into March or April, because that is when the actual weather naturally is starting to warm up and the soil is starting to warm up, and all of the weeds are also showing signs of growth. So that's when I would really get my act together and start my gardening season. But ever since getting this greenhouse a few years ago and having this potting bench here, I started to grow more and more plants earlier in the season. Now before this I would grow all of the chillies, peppers, tomatoes, even cucumbers in our living room or in our kitchen, which is all doable once you've got the space, or you're just willing to put up with this kind of extra plants in your house during the summer season. But it is so much more convenient, and now once we have this greenhouse, all this kind of a messy soil jobs can be done here, and I don't have to worry about tidying up that much. But I promise you, if there was an investment item I would highly recommend to anybody, it's a greenhouse or a polytunnel. Just get or like potting shed, like any kind of a sort of, yeah, this kind of a sheltered area to do a bit of gardening, these kind of mundane gardening jobs. And now my plant choices are usually determined by what we eat, like the real staples in the kitchen, as long as obviously I'm able to grow them. But then it's probably something that is too expensive in the stores to buy but could be grown in our climate, so I'll try to have a go at that. And then perhaps something just new to experiment with, or something for preserving or for long shelf life. So that is how I'm choosing what to grow. At the very beginning of the year, in January and early February, the natural light levels are still very low, plus it's cold. So that's why early sowings are prone to fail if you don't prepare yourself and give, I suppose, this environment for the seeds and plants to grow in. That would be much more natural to later in spring. But then obviously some crops are just naturally slow growing, or they require a long growing season. So therefore those should be the ones to focus on this early in the year, and getting the growing conditions correct for the plants you want to grow will be important. So I need to consider soil, temperature, light and water levels. And for soil, I'm actually using sieved multi-purpose compost, and I'm sieving it because like the chunks and materials in here are just so big sometimes, depending on the, obviously there's bags as well, but there's if there's a lot of uncomposted materials in here. So what I want is this kind of really fine mix, and I'm going to mix that with vermiculite. I'm probably going to do about 50-50 of a ratio for that, and I just really want to get this airy, light and well draining soil mix. For maintaining the ideal germination temperature, I have ordered this electric propagator. I'm so excited about this because I've never had one before. I haven't even opened the box yet. Now previously I have always used the warm surface of our living room floor that just gets heated by underfloor heating anyway, so regardless of me having pots on it or not. And this is also in front of a south facing window, so any sunlight coming through that window would increase the temperature of the soil. So just a combination of the two, the underfloor heating and the sunshine, will be perfect for seed germination. And I've always relied on it. But I have a large pot of edible root ginger still growing in that exact area. So I've taken a decision to buy this. So this, I hope, is just going to be maybe a little bit more even as well. And these days we've had a lot of sort of overcast days. So there's no extra boost from sunshine these days. But yeah. Now this is not a necessity. You could just also use a sunny windowsill, place seed trays or pots on the radiator, or just sow later in the season. But I did want a consistent solution for the germination and having a much more controlled environment for it, where I can regulate the heat specifically under the sort of the seed trails, while minimizing the damping of disease. So that is really what I'm hoping for, because that disease is my nemesis, as the temperatures would fluctuate too much, and I tend to be quite generous when I'm watering as well. So I hope this gadget and me will get on well, but only time will tell really. For this year I'm back with the chilies. Some are hot and some are mild, and then just some sweet peppers as well. From the mild chilies that I grew last year, I did not actually like any of them. They were all new varieties. I had never grown them or tasted them before, and after growing them I actually liked none of them. So learn from my mistake, experiment or try new varieties in small amounts only. I'd grown all the chilies and peppers here in the greenhouse in the pots, but then I moved them all over into our living room in October, just to allow the fruit to sort of mature and grow on a bit more, and that is where they've been ever since. So I've left them to dry off, and it looks a bit sad there. I am quite looking forward to getting a proper spring clean done in that area now and getting rid of all of those dead plants. Yeah, at the moment I'm just looking at them and it's like, yeah, I will remember about this. It's not to repeat that same mistake again, to grow so much of something that I actually ended up not liking. Obviously we'll have still a couple of months of cold weather ahead of us, and the chilies won't need light to germinate. They will just need heat. But for the seedlings growth, I would need to make sure they have plenty of light as well. Now I could use south facing windowsill or supplement grow lights for like 12 to 16 hours a day. But with an electric propagator, this new thing, the south facing window could overheat the seedlings. So grow lights could be better, but I don't have them. Maybe next year the budget would stretch to those. Therefore, I will place the propagator to a west facing windowsill, and the space, I think that windowsill is long enough to actually take this contraption. For watering, the soil needs to be kept moist, not soggy, might need to mist to avoid disturbing them. But yeah, that's what I'll do, and I'll just show you which varieties I'm growing and sowing. The pepper varieties, I'm going a little bit Mediterranean. I'm going with a sweet Italian heritage variety, which is called Jimmy Nardello. I don't have a picture of it, but they would be quite well known. A long sort of red pepper, but then the tip of it would have like a curved shape about it. So they could be spicy, but usually just mild. And then I'll also try Spanish tapas chilies, which are Padron variety. So these would be more popular eaten green, and they'll be milder in taste, but some could be quite spicy, some could be very mild. Then I will give another go to last year's variety Piquilla, even though I said I didn't like any of them. This was the one that I liked the most, I suppose. Oh, and I just really liked the shape and size of it, and the flavour was okay, so I'll just give it one more go, as the others definitely were a non-runner. And then I will definitely sow another batch of Chinese 5 colours. So that is a stunning plant. I've grown it for a couple of years. I just took a break from chilies 2 years ago because I got such a bumper harvest the year before. And yeah, so it's very spicy. It's a very hot chili, but also it actually makes just the most wonderful aromatic dried chili powder, and you could definitely try to ferment them. And then I have another one, jalapeno. So I'm going to try an jalapeno as well here, because I can see we've gone into habit of eating a lot of them pickled. So I've been buying a good few jars of them pickled, and they go quite fast, really tasty. So I want to grow them so I could do my own pickled jalapeno, so I don't have to buy them from the shop. So, so these are the ones that I'm going to sow. Now for the early Brassicas sowings, I've actually chosen 2 cabbages and 1 cauliflower. And I've chosen them, first of all, obviously they're early varieties, so they're the ones that will be maturing quickly. And the second is that they're all perfect for small spaces, so small gardens, patios, because also they're harvesting, I would say, heads aren't huge, so you don't have to worry about the leftovers, or like what to do if it's too big of a harvest basically in one go, because obviously a head of cabbage, you know, that could last a while. So I've chosen a green cabbage, which is a primo. So this is well-known variety, and obviously this kind of a nice round shape head for the summer, then June to August of harvesting. But this can be sown literally from now, January, February, March. And I'll put it with the heat mat or the propagator as well. It will need, well, it would need heat to germinate. It would be doing much better and quicker then. Then I've chosen a beautiful red variety. Now this is an F1, it's called Pretino, and also the same thing, you know, nice compact heads. There should also be very little of the core part of it, and that means you'll have more leaf as such, but a beautiful red colour. So I have that, and then I have a cauliflower called Iglo. So again, this could be sown now, January, February, March, and then the harvesting period is actually like the second half of summer, so from July onwards. So let's say again, maybe perhaps July itself, or August, September, October, you know, it's going to go to the other side of the summer. So these are the 3 sort of early brassicas. I also found my Globo onion seed packet, an opened one. The best before was last year. but I have the onion sets outside. But I'll sow some of them. It's a big white fleshed variety, and I've had good success from seed with this before. But the seed packet was so small, I actually had lost it sort of between, so I thought maybe I had used all of it, and then now I found it as I came across the leek packet as well. So I'm just going to sow them. This is a little backup, I suppose. And they're both germinating in the propagator as well. Then I'll sow a little bit more of spring onion. This is beautiful red variety, really tasty. Perfect for stir fries, Apache. And then a leek. I didn't actually think I was going to grow any leeks this year, but again, because I have an open packet already. Now the best before is not yet here. Best before is in 2026, but it is open. It is an F1 and there's only very few seeds left in it. And this variety is called Autora. Now the reason I picked an F1 is because it's rust resistant. But I just found that we don't actually use leek as much in cooking. Still have quite a bit of it in the freezer. So there's only like, what, 5 seeds of it left. So it's only a little bit. But as I said, I'll try to do my best to use up all these ends. Okay, 6 seeds. 6, 7, lucky 7. Yeah, one more came out. So at the end of the day, they all cost money. So 7 seeds. Oh, I sowed them as well. Then something different, not a vegetable, but a flower. And this will not need a propagator. Can you recognize this? This is the stunning hollyhocks. And it is a perennial. But obviously you can propagate it from seeds. And these do not need a heat to germinate. They actually just need a cool environment, not a cold stratification either. But I'll sow them here into these kind of a little seed pots or plant pots. They're tiny pots, really small. And I leave them here then in the greenhouse because they will take a while to germinate. Now this is a mix of colours, so these are beautiful tall spikes of flowers, and they'll be beautiful in cottage garden or any, I suppose, even these perennial gardens or like permaculture type of gardens. These are a giant variety and they're mixed, but because they have a single flower, they'd be really good for pollinators as well because it's a nice open flower. And yeah, their height could be like 8 foot, 2.4 meters, and fine big seeds. And I'll sow them exactly the same as the cabbages and cauliflowers, same depth. So quite a shallow. But I'll do 3 pots of them because obviously because they're mix of colours. I have no idea what might come up. I didn't even use half the packet yet, so there's another portion there. But this is a fresh seed. 2026 is the expiry date, so hopefully they'll come through. So all the seeds are sown now that I had planned for today, and it looks like it has stopped raining outside as well. So let's go out there, have a quick look around the garden, and then I'll tell you about another thing we have to worry about in the coming few days. So the kitchen garden after the snowstorm is looking okay. Now it's still a little bit drizzling, but if we look at, so these were the planters, they were heavily covered, just a week ago, heavily covered with snow. And it looks like this week is okay. You see the leaves have fully perked up again. So they don't look like they have suffered any damage, and I was quite happy to actually see that because the temperatures nighttime for one night went down to minus 9.5, so I was worried about that. Now the celeriac is looking okay actually as well, even though there's few sort of mushy looking leaves. This is gone to seed, so I'm definitely not worrying about that. There's some spring onion, I think, in here. Spring onion, yeah. So that planter is also looking lovely. Now this is the kale Nero di Toscana that I was worried about, because they are still quite like low plants. But again, except for these couple of leaves that have been broken, the rest of it is looking very, very good. Then beetroot, a little bit surprising. Now, they might not grow any bulbs underneath, but as far as leaves go, I would have expected them to suffer. And again, it has proven me wrong that it didn't suffer. Really good, tough. Now this is probably the most surprising planter for me, because I was really worried about these guys, because I could see none of these plants through the snow. This is a really tall variety Portuguese kale, and I wanted to actually remove those plants from here. They were tiny when I planted them, and they're really long, but you see how the stem has actually flattened. So there's another one going all the way up there, and again, they've been absolutely happy out. No damage from the snow at all. So these are the red onions and yellow onions that I have planted here. They were, when did I plant them? October, November. And some have come up, some have been pulled out, which is to be expected. The hoops have been all been pushed over by winds. Plus I had some overwintering broad beans here as well, and some of them have come up. Not all of them, but well, most of them, I suppose. Yeah, most of them. And I was just keeping these nets on them, just to make sure that the birds don't come and eat them. But the slugs have definitely gotten to them. But I could basically take off these covers now anyway. But while we're here, let's just go and have a look at these planters as well. So these were the pumpkin beds, and I have garlic planted in them now, elephant garlic and standard hardneck varieties. Even a couple of weeks ago I couldn't actually see any coming up, but now I can. So the snow definitely did good to them. So let's go and have a look at the orchard as well, and then I'll tell you about that new worry. That I'm missing a couple of trees. Now the apple tree that's next to me here, so that was closest I suppose to the hedge here. This is something actually that needed to be removed for a couple of years now. We just always postponed it, and the main reason was that the tree was so tilted throughout. We've tried to sort of straighten it earlier, going back good few years now, 4 or 5 years ago, and it never really straightened itself properly. Plus the apples weren't that nice on it, so we just knew that tree had to go. And then the other one is a plum tree. So that was a mature plum tree. It didn't really produce anything. It wasn't it's not something I'm missing, but the reason this had to go is because of the snow actually broke off a massive branch and another couple of smaller branches, and it already looked cankery, so we've taken it down. Now none of this timber is going to go to waste. Obviously plum, apple, they could be used for grilling, barbecue, smoking. So they are definitely going to be used up. They're not going to be just dumped or wasted. And then the branches, I am going to shred them because there's a lot of material there. But this is not going to be the priority for the next couple of weeks. We just have to wait for the weather to dry up and get a bit warmer. And we have another big branch come down from here again because of the snow. The weight of it, this came down from the hedgerow, and this is a massive white thorn, and there was a lot of weight from the ivy as well there, as you see. But we do like to have the ivy actually in the hedgerows because the berries it produces, obviously the flowers themselves as well, but the berries as well. This is just fantastic for the wildlife. The birds love them. This is a high energy food for them. It's like a bar of chocolate basically in the calories as far as I've read about it. So yeah, we always like to leave it in the hedgerows but not anywhere else. But you might just see up there how it has fully snapped the branches down. So they needed to come down. So there's a lot of material here for shredding, and then obviously the sort of the firewood as well up on that side. Well, it's not going to be your typical fireplace firewood. It's going to be for cooking, so like grilling, barbecues, this kind of a type of a firewood out of the fruit trees. But the next big concern we have that I sort of mentioned earlier. So first of all, obviously last week I showed you the big snow event that we had here in Ireland, especially on the west coast of it. Some areas got it really bad. So we were snowed in for a couple of days, 3-4 days we were snowed in. So next one is going to be a huge storm that's coming off the Atlantic Ocean, and as far as we know it is definitely going to be an orange warning. So that's the second highest warning we have. So red would be the worst what has ever been recorded, or it's danger to life type of a storm. And at the moment the whole country is going to be at least orange, which is like a step down from red. But there is talks that that rating from orange is going to be elevated or increased to red for this southwest county. So let's say maybe Cork and like Kerry where we're in, and maybe Clare, I'm not sure now. It's just a talk about it. It might stay orange, might not affect us as badly, but if it does, it is going to be as bad as any of those winter storms are. And definitely, as the experience tells us, February storm seems to be the most damaging for us, for our own personal property in this area, in this location. And we have to start preparing for it the same way as we would have needed to prepare for that snow event. So we have to definitely increase the water volume that we had saved so far. We have to prep that again. We have to get our firewood. But because this is now a wind type of storm, we would be really worried about our, let's say, windows, or again the guttering systems, or anything that's actually loose around the yard. So we do have to really thoroughly go through everything that's any bit loose that might be a flight risk. So prepping something that's possible to eat cold, and let's say that our fridges aren't as full of food that is potentially going off. So this is something to be much more concerned about than in the snow event, because snow event, obviously there was plenty of cold areas outside that we could have used as a fridge if needed, to have our power banks charged up, and just make sure we have batteries, candles if needed to, because they are talking really seriously about this particular storm ahead. So this is another named storm. I think the name was Owen. So If I got that wrong, I'll put that on the screen. And let's just hope that everybody gets through this storm without too much damage. So yeah, that's it. We'll see you hopefully next week again. And thanks a million joining me today again. See you next time.